Civil War Battle Series. The Battle of South Mills. The Battle of South Mills, a Civil War engagement also known as the Battle of Sawyer's Lane and Battle of Camden, occurred in Camden County on 19 April 1862 at the south end of the Dismal Swamp Canal. After the Confederacy lost Roanoke Island, New Bern, and Fort Macon, the Union's Major General Ambrose E. Burnside sought to blow up the locks of the canal at South Mills. He hoped to prevent the Confederates from passing their small ironclad gunboats through the canal at Albemarle Sound and threatening Union forces in the region. Burnside mounted an expedition in cooperation with the Federal gunboats to move up the Pasquotank River. Brigadier General Jesse L. Reno commanded the expedition of 3,000 men. On April 19, 1862, Confederate troops repelled Union troops for 5 hours at Sawyer's Lane, retreating to fortifications 2 miles north of Joy's Creek, only after being outflanked from the east. Both sides claimed victory, the North because they captured the field, and the South because they prevented the destruction of the Dismal Swamp Canal locks, 3 miles northwest in South Mills, North Carolina. The Confederate troops retreated north to the locks of Wallaceaton in Virginia during the night to prevent being outflanked from the east again. Union forces retreated back to their transports at Chantilly on the Pasquotank River around 10 p.m., fearing the Confederates were receiving reinforcements from Norfolk. A Confederate force of about 4,000 men was sent from Suffolk through Gates County in an attempt to cut the Yankees off from their ships, but they arrived too late. General Jesse Reno's forces consisted of 3 regiments from Roanoke Island and 2 from New Bern. They were accompanied by a detachment from the 1st New York Marine Artillery and underwater explosives expert, Professor Benjamin Malafert of New York City. Their objective was to blow up the locks at South Mills, cutting off the major route of supplies for Norfolk and denying Confederate ironclads a route to the Albemarle Sound. The fear of the ironclads was unfounded. The canal was far too shallow and narrow for the CSS Virginia's passage. The Union battle plan called for Colonel Rush Hawkins and his 4th Brigade from Roanoke Island to land at Chantilly under the cover of darkness, followed by a 12-mile forced march to South Mills. They were to capture and hold the bridge over the Pasquotank River below South Mills, preventing the 7th 3rd Georgia companies posted on the Pasquotank County side of the river from crossing over into Camden County. Reno was to follow with his 2 regiments from New Bern and the explosives to blow up the locks. In the darkness, Hawkins and his 4th Brigade took a wrong turn onto Gumbury Road, arriving at Belcross around dawn. They stopped at the house of Lieutenant Alonzo Bell on Lamb's Road to eat breakfast. Hawkins recognized Bell as one of the paroled captives from the Battle of Hatteras Inlet. After eating, the Union column continued down Lamb's Road toward South Mills, an unintended detour of about 5 miles. Hawkins blamed the blunder on treachery by his local guide. In the meantime, Reno's column left Chantilly at dawn and followed the most direct route past Camden Courthouse, stopping to rest at Lamb's Corner around 10 a.m. While stopped, clouds of dust and flying colors were seen approaching from the east down Lamb's Road. Reno called his men into line of battle and prepared to fire on the approaching force, thinking Hawkins was already at South Mills holding River Bridge. The supposed enemy turned out to be Hawkins and his worn-out men several hours late. They fell in behind the fresher troops of the 2nd Brigade and continued northward toward Sawyer's Lane. Around noon, Confederate artillery fire halted the Union column. The Union battery was hurried to the front of the column, and a 3-hour artillery battle ensued, followed by an hour of combat between infantry units. The Union advance was held up by 5 companies of Colonel Ambrose Wright's 3rd Georgia Infantry and 3 guns of the Giles Light Artillery, a total of about 400 men, holding off over 3,000 until outflanked from the east around 5 p.m. The Confederates withdrew to entrenchments north of Joy's Creek. The exhausted Yankees declined to pursue them. The Battle of South Mills was over. On the return to their ships at Chantilly, Union troops destroyed the bridge over Sawyer's Creek, set prisoners free from the jail, stripped the store of an outspoken Southern sympathizer of its merchandise, reportedly stole the gems of the local Shrine Hall, and used the Camden courthouse as a rest stop. The route back to Chantilly was strewn with materials looted during the return trip, and the locks were never destroyed. It's your history. Learn it, know it, love it.